I wore my Camp Half-Blood shirt for the episode, so.
I wish I had one.
Well, I wish I still had the neon orange one I bought when I was 14, but I bought this one right before season 1 came out because.
So you have the old shirt.
Yeah.
What are you doing, Oliver? I see you eating plants back there.
Whoa. All right. There's like a ghost.
Hello and welcome to the Plot Hole Podcast, where two writers from the video game industry pull back the curtain on narrative development and analyze your favorite story. My name's Alanna Carroll.
I'm Sydney King.
And as always, our disclaimers first. We are video game industry professionals, but we will not discuss our projects or company. Our thoughts and opinions do not necessarily reflect those of our employers. We love stories. Number 2. Sorry, I was supposed to name these as I went along. Number 2. We love stories. We're here to discuss them through a critical lens, but these are opinions. If you love the story, or the show in this case, but we rank it low, who cares? You connected with that story, and that's all that matters. And spoiler, Jesus Christ, my brain. And number 3, spoilers ahead, we will discuss all aspects of the narrative, including the ending. So we're going to start off with some news and headlines, like usual, pulled from the world of narrative, our first story. So last month, January, which we didn't film an episode then because we were just super busy from the holidays, but Markiplier, aka Mark Fishbach, released Iron Lung, a movie based on the indie game of the same name. It was his debut movie as a filmmaker. It was self-funded. He edited it, he starred in it, and the film originally had trouble finding self-funded, the film originally had trouble securing a distributor. He distributed it himself at the end, and he ended up making 7 times its budget. So I read it was like the budget was, I should have put this in here. I think it was 7 million. Because I was comparing it to Send Help, which was 70 million. Mm-hmm. Because I just wanted to know in my brain how much that was in Hollywood, because I don't look up Hollywood budgets usually. And it ended up making sometimes budget. Has made some of the higher ups in Hollywood kind of nervous because it was distributed outside sort of that. So there's again monopoly on these big budget movies. It broke that. It helped that he had of course, a fan base. I don't know. His fan base is in the millions. I can't recall exactly off the top of my head, but it's just cool to see.
Yeah,
there's a lot to say about this film, so maybe we'll do an episode on that later. But I just thought one of the interesting things to bring up for this.
Have you seen Iron Lung?
I haven't.
I haven't seen it either, but
I've heard a lot. There's a lot of interesting choices with editing, and I haven't seen him play the game either. I'm a fan of his. I missed that video.
Yeah.
I haven't watched his stuff and I've been off and on, but I didn't go see it. Funnily enough, I did buy tickets for it one night, and then I was just too tired and I didn't go, and I was well, at least I still supported it. So I did support it.
Well, I mean that, even if you didn't physically go, that counts towards something. But I haven't seen it either. I do remember watching a playthrough of the game back when it came out, but I don't remember who I watched. It wasn't Mark though. And I was just kind of meh on the game too. I mean, I think it's cool, and I really think what he accomplished is, there's Rami creeping in the back.
Rami.
My boss is
more
here.
Rami, honestly.
Yeah. Well, she's just going to be sitting right there now. I think it's really cool what he accomplished, and happy for him, and shaking up the industry. I super respect that. So I'll see it eventually.
Yeah. That's what I kind of figure. I was I'll see it. It's still playing in theaters though, so I don't know at the time of filming this if it still will. But if you're interested in supporting indie developers, go check it out.
Yeah.
I've heard good things about it. So
yeah. I did see Send Help though that you mentioned. So I guess I was on the opposite side of that.
I have not seen it. Yeah, its budget was 40 million. So it was like,
Send Help was?
yeah, so it was
Yeah.
like 39 million, or yes, I just did math horribly in my head. But so it's like Mars was 4 million, Send Help was 40.
Yeah. 10 times.
Yeah, 10 times the budget, which I love. The guy that stars in that,
Dylan O'Brien.
Dylan O'Brien. He's such a good actor. Like I I was a fan of Teen Wolf, and like on Teen Wolf you could be like, he's actually an actor. Not the rest of them aren't, but like he's got amazing range.
Yeah.
His part just allowed him to show off, especially in the later seasons. So I'm excited to see him back in more things, because I know he was in the Scorpion Trials. I think that's what it's called. And he had a really bad injury there. Maze Runner.
Or are you talking about Maze
Yeah.
Runner? Okay.
Yeah. I think
Because he got like run over in a stunt or something, right?
Yeah, and I
Crazy.
know you're like left acting for like a hot second, but I'm glad.
Mhm.
He was also in Love and Monsters, which is like a really underrated movie.
Yeah, I like that one too.
Yeah. Anyway.
And then he was in a movie recently called Twin. Wow, my voice cracked like a 12-year-old boy. Twinless, which I haven't seen yet either, but I do want to see.
Oh, interesting.
But it's more like an indie drama movie. But he was really good in Send Help.
Yeah.
Rachel McAdams was great too. I liked it. So
I need to see it. I'm busy. It's been a busy January for me.
Mm-hmm. It's hard. Life's hard.
The second headline, which I pulled because I thought it was funny, was an recent being in January 31st, I think. George R. R. Martin stated in an interview to The Hollywood Reporter, The Winds of Winter, a book started in 2010, probably isn't going to be done anytime soon. I absolutely love this quote. I don't know, Martin says. I think I'll stay home. I have to write more Dunk and Egg, which is a reference to the Seven Kingdoms. Night of the Seven Kingdoms just came out. There's supposed to be another Fire and Blood book too. I don't think... What did you say? I do think if I can get some of these other things off my back, I could finish The Winds of Winter pretty soon. It's been made clear to me that Winds is the priority, but I don't know. Sometimes I'm just not in the mood for that.
I mean, if I was him, I'd be the same way. I'd be like, I don't feel like it.
I don't really feel like it. I don't think either of us are really a Game of Thrones fans.
Oh, I love Game of Thrones.
Did you?
Well, I did
that was...
and then they kind of lost me forever. I haven't watched House of the Dragon, and I haven't watched Night of the Seven Kingdoms because they lost me with the end of the series. I'm just like, I don't think I'll touch a Game of Thrones thing ever again.
I wasn't big into it. I watched Game of Thrones through all of you guys when we all worked together. Every time an episode would air, everyone would come to the office and talk about it in front of me. So I felt like I had watched it.
Yeah.
and then it was funny because after the season finale, it just like ended. I'd never heard anyone bring it up. And then I had to look up what happened in the season finale because I was like, oh man. Night of the Seven Kingdoms is actually one that I'm interested in and I might pick up because I heard it's like a lighter sort of fare and it's supposed to be like more fun than Game of Thrones normally is. Mm-hmm. Which I remember I watched the first season of Game of Thrones and I was like, nah. But
it's a lot.
And then I watched something like Fallout and I'm like, I love this. So I don't know. I don't know where that scale is. I think hard fantasy is just like difficult for me to get through. I don't know why. Yeah. But I love Lord of the Rings, so
I'm usually not big into fantasy either. Mm-hmm. So like Game of Thrones and Lord of the Rings, and I'm trying to think if there's like anything else that I'm like really into with fantasy, but I don't know.
But yeah, I thought that was a funny statement. It mm-hmm. speaks to me as a writer.
Yeah. I totally understand where he's coming from and not wanting to finish the book series after what happened with the TV show. Because I feel like if I was in his place, I would be thinking that like, no matter what I do at this point, people are going to be pissed off. So it's just like, why bother?
Yeah. Which is, I think, really true. Like I remember the last Harry Potter book. I feel like no one was happy with that ending. And like, I kind of wonder, I think a lot of people have this theory too, which is like maybe the show Game of Thrones, that ending was actually what George R. R. Martin told him it was going to end. And so when people were pissed about it, he was like, back to the drawing board sort of thing. And I think that because the show had drifted from the book, that that ending just didn't feel right for the show.
Right.
But again, all speculation from someone who never watched the show, but just heard about it.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go on to our next section, which is what are we playing? So, Sydney, what games have you been playing lately?
Well, I haven't been playing a lot of games lately, but I will recommend a couple of other things. I have started my reread of Project Hail Mary because I wanted to reread it before the movie comes out in a few weeks. Incredible, amazing book. Everybody should read it. I know we were just saying we're not super into fantasy. I'm much more into sci-fi. Andy Weir is like the king of sci-fi right now. All of his books are so good.
I've never read that book. I'd be honest with you, I didn't know it was a book. I'm so bad.
I would really recommend, if you like audiobooks like I do, I listen to a lot of them, get the audiobook for Project Hail Mary because it's read by Ray Porter and he does such a good job. Andy Weir is really comedic in his writing, and so listening to an audiobook just like adds so much character to it. Yeah, I love it. So read it. You've got like 4 weeks until the movie comes out. So
okay, I will.
Please do. I feel like there was something else I have been into lately that I was going to recommend, and all I can think about right now is Project Hail Mary, so never mind.
I can say that I've been kind of into Quarantine Zone lately, which is so for those who don't know, it's a game, indie game where you are a checkpoint guard during the zombie apocalypse. So you have to scan people for like health concerns. Super fun. Just it's grim, but it's fun. Papers, Please-esque, but more 3D. It's just kind of cool, a cool indie game concept. And I was trying to remember. I finished up Fallout, loved it. Highly recommend everyone watch the new season of Fallout. I feel like they fixed a lot from season 1, but
that's good to know because I haven't started season 2. I will watch it though because I know we want to cover that on here too. So I will watch it.
Yeah, I will say. I mean, I feel like season 1 just had like its issues, especially with Maximus's character. I feel like they kind of rectify that, and they really start playing around in the world because the first season was so loaded of like, here's the world of Fallout, and like there was one moment in that series, and like I don't have visceral reactions to media. I don't know what's wrong with my brain, but
we're all desensitized.
I don't cry or anything like that, or like I don't know, but like this actually had one moment where I like pointed to that TV and like had the Leonardo DiCaprio like, oh my god. So
because it was like a reference to the game that you got? Is that okay?
It was like a reference to the game that I got, and the reference was like pretty heavy hitting. So I was like, and both my parents looked over because I was watching with my parents. They both gasped. I threw a little Fallout party for my parents at the season finale.
Oh, that's fun.
I forced them to get into shows, but
good. They love it.
They do.
I remembered the other thing I was going to recommend. If there's anything else you want to say before we move on, though.
No, go ahead.
I started yesterday playing Tarsier's new game, Reanimal. The same makers as Little Nightmares. It's really good. I love Little Nightmares. The third one was taken over by Supermassive, and so it wasn't quite up to the same standard as the first 2 games, and Reanimal is their new original IP, but it's very Little Nightmares stylistic and gameplay wise. So I'm about an hour into it, an hour and a half maybe. Really good. I love all those games. I'm excited to see where it goes.
It's co-op too, right?
Yes.
We ever do live streams?
Yeah. I would happily play Reanimal with you online too.
It'd be fun. I really loved Little Nightmares. We had to do a project in grad school when I was in grad school for learning how to make video games that was like recreating mechanics of a game. And I remember doing Little Nightmares, and I was like, this is actually way harder than it looks. So.
Well, that's something I really respect about Little Nightmares and Reanimals the same way, is how tight the pacing is, especially like those chase scenes. And it can get kind of frustrating sometimes that way too, because you learn in that game through dying. Like, you are going to fail scenes over and over again and have to replay them. But when you get the pathing just right, when you get the timing just right, those scenes can feel really intense. So I think that's something I really like about those games.
That's really cool. I'll have to check it. I've seen like some playthroughs of it, but I haven't like sat down and really watched it. But I need to pay attention to it.
It's good.
All right. Enter a topic. You ready?
Yes.
Okay.
Percy Jackson time.
Percy Jackson time. So the main part of our show, we were discussing Percy Jackson, the Olympians, season 2, which is called The Sea of Monsters. It's now streaming on Disney Plus. If you want to go watch it, if you haven't watched it, watch it first, and then come back.
Unless you want everything spoiled.
Unless you want everything spoiled. But and Sydney has her Camp Half Blood shirt on.
I do.
Before we dive into our classy trash test, we're gonna go look behind the scenes, meet the storytellers, and get an overview of the story. So let's meet our storytellers, which is our history segment. For this one, I thought I would just breeze through just a little high level. I'm just kidding. We're stepping all the way back around 800 BCE. Going back. When ancient Greece, all the way back to ancient Greece, began to take shape. As with all complex civilizations, people begin to look for meaning in life, nature, and the universe. As the civilization grew, so did tales of a pantheon of gods who the ancient Greeks believed were responsible for life as they knew it. These gods weren't the Greek gods we knew today and are familiar with. Each region had kind of its own god, and its characteristics slowly began to blend, and they began to adopt from other regions as cultures evolved, which is why in early Greek mythology, you'll sort of have these overlaps, or you'll have like contradictions of what certain gods mean. But these cultures spread their beliefs through the stories, and the ancient Greeks had a strong oral tradition surrounding their gods. They told tales that some were creation tales, other were cautionary tales, cultural explanations told by poets and storytellers. Do you have a favorite Greek tale?
Ooh, good question. Wow. I always liked Orpheus and Eurydice.
Ooh, that's a great one. I want that to be a game so bad. I don't know how.
Yeah. You could do something really cool with that, like some kind of... Yeah. Anyway, we don't have to get
It's always been in the back of my mind.
We'll talk about that offline.
I love the one with Athena, and the guy looks at her bathing, and she turns him into a deer, and his own dogs rip him apart. As a child, that blew my mind, because apparently they told us that story in middle school, and I was like, amazing.
Perfect. 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10.
You would be an Athena kid for sure.
I would.
If you were a half-blood, you'd be Athena's.
I feel like you'd be Hades. I can see you.
That's fair.
Hades is awesome, though. He's
he's great. Yeah. Nico is one of my favorite characters. So.
But however, the differences between gods between regions start to change when we see the rise of famous poets in ancient Greece. These poets recite tales of long-form adventures. These epics are responsible for standardizing the Greek gods as we know them today. A pantheon that consists of 12 gods led by Zeus, his brother Poseidon and Hades, his queen Hera, and their children Athena, Apollo, Hermes, Dionysus, Demeter, Apollo, Ares, and Artemis. There are a lot of minor Greek gods in there are a lot of minor gods in Greek mythology, but there's only so much time in the day. Anyways, back to our poets. There are a few very famous poets who were impactful to literature, but the one we're concerned with today is Homer. Everyone's probably heard of him, which is actually funny because we don't know a lot about him, or whether he was just one person. It could have been the work of a few poets who crafted Homer's stories into what we knew today and was eventually written down. They said that these poems were written in kind of like a lyricism, so it was like easy to remember. So they're probably a little bit more sing-song, which I thought was interesting. but a few of the famous works we attribute to the poet we call Homer are the Iliad and, full circle, the Odyssey. The Odyssey follows the heroic tale of the king of Ithaca, Odysseus, and his homecoming journey after the 10-year-long Trojan War. His journey from shore to Ithaca lasts an additional 10 years, during which time he encounters many perils, including Scylla, Charybdis, Circe, the Sirens, and the Cyclops Polyphemus. Polyphemus. And the Cyclops Polyphemus. All of his crewmates are killed throughout the adventures, but he makes it home, and his dog recognizes him. It's a very sweet moment with dogs. It's also worth noting that Odysseus kind of stands out. Not kind of. It's just worth noting that Odysseus stands out in the tales of epics because he leans on his wits, preferring to outsmart rather than outright face his opponent. That's really shown in his battle with Polyphemus, where Polyphemus is like, "Who's there?" and he's like, "Nobody's there." And Polyphemus is like, "All right." He ends up blaming him at certain points, but this is a trait that's cherished by the Greeks and was despised by the Romans. When you see Odysseus, or at this time he's Ulysses, portrayed in Dante's Inferno, he's in hell because he used trickery. Romans were really keen on the intellectuals. I just love that fact. Nothing to do with Percy Jackson. But
it's Greek mythology. It's everything to do with Percy Jackson. Mythology.
And this book, Percy Jackson Sea of Monsters, is it is a retelling of Odysseus's tale. Anyways, so let's jump way ahead to the United States on June 5th, 1964, when a man named Rick Riordan, I looked this up.
I've heard it pronounced so many different ways.
I looked up interviews with him. Riordan.
Okay.
Yeah. Born in San Antonio, Texas. He grew up in Texas and eventually attended North Texas State University. Young Rick had dreams to become a guitarist, but he ended up transferring and pursuing an English and history degree instead. He received his teaching certificate in those subjects. He taught English and social studies for 8 years in San Francisco, but in Texas.
San Francisco, Texas. I didn't know that was a thing.
It looks like San Francisco. I don't know. Anyways, Riordan's first book, Big Red Tequila, is an adult murder mystery published in 1998. It was his first book in the Tres Navarro series. I did Spanish, I'm sorry. I didn't look up the pronunciation of this one. It and the series did well, but that's not the book we're interested in. Riordan said that he had the idea for Percy and his friends come to him while telling his son Greek bedtime stories. Some interviews state that he ran out of stories and had to start making up his own Greek-themed stories. It goes to note there's a few sources on the idea where it came from. Some people said that there was a Greek mythology project that he had in one of his classes the idea was to tell it with a modern setting, and he used it in his classrooms. It's probably a combination of those, but either way, the inspiration for Percy himself is clear. Riordan's son, whom he was telling these stories to, had recently been diagnosed with ADHD and dyslexia. He wanted to weave that into his protagonist, who was closer to his son's age, so he could keep his son's interest in reading and writing alive. He wanted to let his son know that he was not alone or a failure, but simply processed information differently. Very sweet. So, someone with dyslexia. I appreciate
and someone with ADHD.
Yep. Like the Greek poet Homer, he first did these stories of the lightning thief as a bedtime story as his son fell asleep. After he finished, though, he went to his computer and wrote it all down. Percy Jackson, the Olympians, the Lightning Thief was published in 2005. The first book follows Percy Jackson, a 12-year-old boy who learns that he is the son of the Greek god Poseidon. He's accused of stealing Zeus's lightning bolt and must go on a quest to retrieve it. Him and his friends, spoilers!
Yeah, shipping coming out already.
Annabeth and Grover ultimately saved the day. It was praised by critics and fans and reached the New York Times bestsellers list. The success led to the entire series, 6 books in total for the original series, many spin-off series, comic books, companion guides. With this level of fame, it's no surprise that Percy Jackson was eventually picked up for his very own movie. Optioned by 20th Century Fox, the first Percy Jackson movie, The Lightning Thief, was released in 2010. The box office numbers were decent, but reception was harsh. Fans complained about numerous changes to the story, including cutting the prophecy, aging the characters up to high school age, and making Annabeth's hair brown. Did you see the original movie?
Unfortunately, yes.
I did too.
I don't think I ever watched the Sea of Monsters movie, though. After the Lightning Thief movie, I was like, no thanks.
I did. It was better. But anyways, yeah, we'll go into that.
I'll have to trust you on
that. Ryden spoke out against the movie, saying that he begged the director and the producers to reverse the changes. His feedback ultimately fell on deaf ears. He actually released emails back and forth with Fox, which is kind of interesting to read. I don't know if they're still up. Now that, this next part will make sense why they're probably not still up. But anyways, just go look that up. The movie did well enough to spawn a sequel, though, based on the second book, The Sea of Monsters. The studio tried to fix some complaints, like adding the Great Prophecy and dyeing Alexandra's Daddario,
I think is how you say it. Something like that.
Dario's hair blonde.
Yeah.
But the damage was done, the fan support wasn't there. The funny thing about Alexandra Daddario being in that, too, is that this was around the time she was in True Detective. So, like, there was also that whiplash of, there was also the whiplash of fans seeing her having an affair with Woody Harrelson. And then, her appearing in Percy Jackson as, a young adult love interest. So.
I've seen both of those things and have never put that together. Yeah.
They dyed her hair in the second movie. I think it was done dirty.
Yeah.
But the movie didn't do well. Didn't do well in the box office, didn't do well with critics. It seemed like Percy Jackson was dead in the water before it really had a chance to find its sea legs. Haha. But ultimately, hope came from the most unlikely of places, a big company buyout. In 2019, Disney acquired Fox's rights and thus granted the rights to Percy Jackson. That year, Riordan says he approached Disney to adapt Percy Jackson again. In May 2020, a new Percy Jackson series was announced with Riordan and his wife as executive producers. That theoretically gave Riordan some creative control that he lacked on the Fox films. This gave fans renewed hope. Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief premiered on December 19th, 2023, and it was a hit. It was an adaptation that the fans wanted. It was fun. It was beloved by critics. It was closer to the book's characters, and despite a few changes here and there, it follows the original story. Of course, following the heels of success, Season 2, The Sea of Monsters, which is what we're discussing now, is announced and premieres December 10th, 2025. And that, my friends, is what we're here to discuss. So, Season 2 sees Percy returning to Camp Half-Blood 1 year later to find that his world is turned upside down. This is from the official synopsis. Yeah. His friendship with Annabeth is changing. He learns he has Cyclops for a brother. Grover has gone missing, and the camp is under siege by the forces of Kronos. Kronos is the father of Zeus, who then eats Zeus, and then Zeus breaks out, kills him, and saves Olympus, and allows for mankind and the mythology. The pine tree, which once was a girl, protects the camp border and has been poisoned by Luke, Percy's former friend and now agent of Kronos. Percy's journey to find the Golden Fleece to heal the tree. Percy starts a journey to find the Golden Fleece to heal the tree and set things right. This will take him off the map and into the deadly sea of monsters where secret fate awaits the son of Poseidon. I feel that it's a lot. If you haven't seen the show, go watch it. I try to put as much in here to make it make sense.
There's a lot going on.
There's a lot going on. The Thalia being a pine tree is a little complicated to wrap your head around unless you've seen the show or read the books. Anyways. Now we move on to our classy trash test. Each of us has ranked the story based on 5 categories: character, setting, genre, passion, rewatchability, and plot. We've scored how well we think the narrative performs in these categories on a scale from 1 to 5, with 5 being the highest. We don't know each other's scores. And ultimately, we will tally and divide the final score that will determine where the narrative falls on the classy trash scale. Anything above a 15 is solid. Anything above 20 is classic. Anything above 25 is legendary. So let's get into it. So, hold on. I have a bubble in my throat.
Take your time.
Oh my god. All right. So, our first category is characters. Do the characters have depth? Are they memorable? Can you recall a character's name off the top of your head? So I gave this a score of 3. I want to start off by saying I love Percy Jackson. This scored a little bit lower. It hurt me a little bit, but I do really like Tyson and Percy's relationship. The brothers, like, they felt more realistic than they did in the books. I like how they sort of fixed. You could argue that Tyson's character was problematic in the second book because just the time period it came out in. And I feel like they fixed a lot of that. And I feel like Clarice stole the show for me. They really upped her character. They put in more scenes with her, and she did a really good job with that. Shout out to Mitch, who died in the streaming wars. I feel bad for him. I don't know how he died.
I loved that too. That's such classic Percy Jackson humor. Yeah. Like in any other show, I would have rolled my eyes, but that's such like Percy Jackson.
It really is. That's like, I think I talk about it later, but part of the fun of this series is how well hidden Greek mythology is throughout the world. So hearing like, the streaming wars was considered a war by Ares is, yeah, as you said, very, very Percy Jackson.
Very funny.
I liked all those choices. The reason it ranked lower for me is because I do feel like there are a few relationships that struggled throughout the season. Annabeth and Percy and Grover, and Luke and everyone. I feel like I already had the Percy Beth slip up, so I'm a big shipper of theirs. Part of the reason I really love them was the slow burn. I don't feel like it's there. I feel like it's going very fast.
Yeah.
And this was kind of the first, like, I haven't read the books maybe as recently as you have, Sydney, but I feel like the second book's really where we get like the first true hint of it during the siren scene. But it felt like it was really layered on heavily through season 2, like with even the taxi scene when they first get in and Percy's like, and they're like, your boyfriend?
Oh, their boyfriend?
He's like, your boyfriend. Yeah. I was like, oh, are we really going into this like so quickly? Because like theoretically they didn't really like each other in the first.
They're more like actual 12-year-olds where they like they're just unaware, and so they butt heads all the time. Yeah.
And I felt like Percy gets in the show. It was kind of noticeable in the first season, very noticeable in the second, where Percy's like really well educated about the Greek mythology, and it was always Annabeth's kind of job in the books was like she was the one who knew everything about the tales and stuff, and she was always the one filling in Percy. And I miss that about her character. Like I miss that Percy, and I get that like I think the change comes from Sally and they wanting Sally to be like, well, she would prepare Percy for this theoretically, but the whole thing was like if the more you knew about it, the more it attracted it to you,
right?
So she kept him in the dark on purpose. So it was like kind of a walk back on that, and I feel like Annabeth was the biggest character struggle for me this season. I really like the actress. I feel like she's there. She can do it. I feel like the writing was just a little weak. I think I also have kind of a theory that they're really trying to. When this book came out, Harry Potter was very popular. This book came on the heels of Harry Potter a few years later, and there's a lot of it's reflective in both stories. And one is the trio and how the trio is set up. And you have Harry, Ron, Hermione, and you have Harry, who's the hero, the brave one, kind of a doofus. You have Ron, who's the silly best friend, who's the comedic sidekick, and then you have Hermione, the smart one, who moves the plot along. And Percy, Grover, and Annabeth really mirrored those archetypes and the tropes. And it's hard with Greek mythology because that's the original trope setter.
Mm-hmm.
So like that, like the funny best friend goes all the way back to like Gilgamesh.
Yeah.
But I feel like with Annabeth, they're really trying to make her feel different from Hermione. And like trying to like really squash those Harry Potter comparisons. So she didn't get to be like as smart as she normally is and sort of bookish. I wish we saw more. I feel like they can lean more into stuff like her love for architecture. We didn't really see that in this season. Yeah, I don't know if you have thoughts on that.
I agree that I think first I gave character a 4 on mine. Mm-hmm. But I completely agree that Annabeth is kind of the weakest adapted character for me right now. And that's a shame because I love her. And I think Leah is doing a great job and totally has the capacity and understanding of Annabeth's character to do that. I just think they're writing her a little strangely right now where, yes, I do feel like her intelligence is less of a factor in the show. Partially because they're making Percy more aware of this stuff. Mm-hmm. But it still feels like they could demonstrate that more and highlight that, but they're just not. Yeah. I think that's partially because of the short format, like these 30-minute episodes. They really can't convey a lot of that. That's something I'll talk about a little bit later too we'll get there. But my biggest problem with Annabeth right now is she feels really, what's the word I want to use? Like defeated almost. Yeah. She's kind of like in the book, she's very like plucky go-getter. Like, I'm going to go on that quest. I'm going to do this. I'm in charge. I'm tough. I'm a girl. I'm smarter than everybody. And there are multiple scenes in the show where she's just like beat down all the time and she's always like, oh, it's no very use. Cynical. Yeah. And she's almost like always like on the verge of tears. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I get that like she is dealing with a lot, like with, especially in Sea of Monsters with Thalia and Luke and being like stuck in between that. But it felt a little melodramatic to me in a way that felt uncharacteristic of Annabeth from the books.
And I do kind of wish that they had looked actually more at Odysseus' tale, because this was Odysseus again used his wits to get out of a lot of these situations. And not only that, but his like patron god was Athena. Mm-hmm. The word mentor comes because Athena would show up as an old man called Mentor. Like, she was really like kind of very present in his quest, and I feel like they could have leaned on that with Annabeth a little bit, and like, I don't know, she could use a lot of her wit to like get them out of situations that like kind of they bumbled through. I mean, they are the kids, but like
yeah. And that's okay, but like in the book she does take on this like leadership role. Yes, because Athena's not only the god of wisdom but of strategy, and so Annabeth in the books is very competent in both battle and in logic, whatever. So I do feel like she's kind of getting shafted a little bit.
Yeah. And I just wish, again, I think but this is like a problem with 30-minute formats, but you were talking about like Percy and Grover didn't feel super developed because they talked a lot in the books through like dreams or like, I don't know. I just felt a little like Grover was there to give exposition and like he revealed a lot to them which I this oh, that's a later thing too in
Yeah.
my notes, but like yeah, and then they added Luke to kind of flesh him out, but like I don't know. I liked in the books how he was like more of an asshole and
Luke or
like just kind
Grover?
of Luke.
Okay. I got
Yeah.
confused for a
Sorry,
second.
moved on
Yeah.
to Luke. He was more like a little bit more evil. So when you big spoiler, but like when you get to the later book, that twist is like more impactful, and like I don't think they know what they want him and Annabeth's relationship to be. Because in the books, she has a crush on him. It's very kind of straightforward. She really looks up to him and idolizes him. And the show, it's I I don't know if it's Big Brother, Little Sister. It doesn't feel that way to me as someone who's like a little sister, because it's still very like an idolizing relationship, like looking up to someone. It doesn't feel like Annabeth does that too much. I don't know. I didn't really. I did. I guess that's a yeah. I feel like Luke. Maybe it should have been when I mean Luke and everyone. Luke and Annabeth. I felt like I didn't really feel that connection there, and I think they're trying to make her like his one connection to humanity. Still, I'm not really sure, but I don't know.
I think I heard somewhere that they wanted to lean away from Annabeth having a crush on Luke because they were worried about like that dynamic in today's world,
Yeah,
because he's like how
way
much older
older.
than them? Yeah, like
Yeah.
6 or 7 years older. Um so I went into the show expecting them to have more of this like sibling dynamic, but it still doesn't feel like
Yeah.
that. It feels like there's still romantic undertones there, but they like it's this weird, I don't know even if the show is intending to play into that later or if they are being like nope, it's just a sibling thing and it's just our knowledge of the books or like it's bleeding into the performances. I don't know, but something about it does feel a little off.
Yeah.
But I do actually disagree with you. I love Luke in the show and the way he's characterized in this as more like complex, sympathetic, charismatic leader in the show, way more than how he's shown in the books. I love that we're seeing the other demigods that are following him and getting more of this like actual conflict and seeing how like Luke has inspired a whole movement basically. And this version of Luke in the show, I believe can do that. In the book, I don't know. I don't know why a bunch of kids would follow him specifically other than, you know, the gods suck. But this version of Luke, I feel like I forgot that actor's name too, but I think he's doing great. He's like a standout performance for me.
I do believe that people would follow him, and I think like they do a really good job of setting up the demigod like betrayal, because before you didn't they were like nameless of like who was following Luke. I think except for was it Chris Rodriguez? Is
Yeah.
Yeah, and the scene where the girl gets stabbed is like brutal. Like I think I gasped, where I was like, oh my god, I can't believe they went there.
And the finale too. I'm sure we'll get there, but like, whoa.
Yeah.
That was a lot.
All right, so setting. Does the setting add to the plot or works to help convey the story? I gave the setting a 2. I like the boat. I like Camp Half-Blood. Something I appreciate in the season and the books is how, and I think I talked about this earlier, about how hidden in plain sight the Greek gods are. We got a lot of that in the first book with like the Festus theme park, the Arch, the Vegas, all having these Greek mythology tie-ins. It was really lacking in this season. I'm sure it could be attributed to the fact that most of the time we're in the sea. There's not a lot of different set pieces, but they really miss like Bermuda Triangle connection. We brush off the connection that the Fleece has with Polyphemus and the island. Like they don't talk about why the island's like flourishing is because of the Fleece. I feel like Circe's spa, I didn't like it. I didn't like I'll go more into that later. And that's going to be because I love Greek mythology more than anything. Probably the show personally victimized me with. But like, I just wasn't I don't feel like it was as, I don't know, as good as the books, and I didn't feel as drawn in. And I don't know if it's what it, again, it might have been the sameness with the set pieces and like
Yeah.
the little time we spent there. I'm not really sure, but
I gave setting a 3 for similar reasons, but I think that is mostly the book itself.
yeah.
Like, Sea of Monsters is definitely the weakest
Mhm.
book out of the original 5, and I think that is this problem that from the show with just not feeling as like the world and all the little ways that Greek mythology has supposedly evolved to modern society. It's just not as present in this book, like you said, because they're straight up out at like the island that Odysseus goes to. It's not like, like the underworld is in LA. They didn't do anything clever with that in the book either,
Yep.
where like Polyphemus's island is Madagascar or something. It's
Yeah.
just like there. So I think that's more a problem of the book.
And Ryden said that this is his like weakest book. Like he's admitted that. I believe people have said that he's admitted that. I haven't looked up sources on that. But like, and then he kind of said this was going to be the most changed season because of that. But yeah, I agree. Anyways, my brain just died. Okay, we're back. Does this work for the intended genre, i.e., if it's horror? We're moving on to genre. Does this work for the intended genre? For example, if it's horror, is it scary? Which this is an adventure, so I gave it a 3. Yeah, I feel like the score really tied a lot into the plot with me, which is what I'll get into later. But again, that thing of like I just didn't feel a lot of the Greek mythology as I wanted to in here.
Yeah.
It was a fun adventure. I had fun. I never was like bored watching it, but like, yeah, it was kind of mid for me.
Yeah. I also gave genre a 3. Basically the same things. It's just that this book in general, and it extended into the TV adaptation too, is just doesn't have as much of the fun world building that the other books do.
Yep, I agree. Moving on to our next category, passion. Does this feel like a cash grab, or does it pay homage to its IP? If original property, does it feel like its creators were more focused on making something that sells? So I gave this a score of 3. I do feel like a lot of love went to the seasons. As I said, I really like the actors. I think Tyson, Luke, all of them did a fantastic job. As you said, it's one of the weaker books, so of course it's like issues bleeding in from there. It was a little bit of the writing, I think, lagged at some points. I just think again the writing was hit or miss. Sometimes it was more miss per episode, and I also think that sometimes it feels bloated by its budget, and it sort of relies a lot on its budget to push like the big effects. I don't know. I wish they kind of went more practical at times, or like, yeah, that makes sense.
No, I totally agree.
Yeah.
I gave it a 4 for passion because, like exactly what you said, I think the actors, I love seeing behind the scenes stuff with them and seeing how big of fans of the books they are and hearing them talk about it. I know that Rick Riordan is involved in it, and so is his wife, and you can really see that and see like how the changes to the story are coming from him, because this is him like actively fixing the things he wishes he could go back and rewrite from the book. Geez, however long ago that was, 20 something years ago. I love that. The only reason it didn't get a 5 is because of Disney. Disney is cheaping out on this show, and the special effects, like we've seen Riptide transform once in the first season, and then a lot of the fight scenes are kind of not choreographed very good. They were getting better in the second half of the season, especially the final battle when Luke and Percy were fighting. Great. But the action in the beginning half of the show, like when they're fighting the giants trying to break into camp in the first or second episode, And there's the Cyclops chase on the island too. Like it looks like a Doctor Who episode. Like bad practical effects, bad camera angles, bad like, and it's Disney. Like you have the budget for it.
Like the fleece looked like a scrubbing pad.
Yeah, it looks like like
what's going
steel
on here,
wool.
Guys? Yeah,
it just like, and some of the costumes too, even like their armor at camp and stuff. Like Disney is holding this show back 100% because they are. I don't know if they don't believe in it or like, I'm sure it's popular for them and like profitable, and I just don't know what they're doing because the 30-minute runtime I can kind of get around, but the effects, the fight scenes, the not seeing Riptide, barely seeing the hippocampi, like
Percy's powers like pretty much being absent,
gone. Like there's just so much that you can tell that they're writing around things because they know they don't have the budget for it.
Like there was things like, because Percy's, I mean, like in the book he learned he can control the tides and like around the boat. That would have been kind of easy to show because they could have just like had him, they could have just moved the boat and be like, oh, I did that. Like, like I don't know.
Yeah, because they have the scene where he's like, oh, I know exactly we're at this latitude and longitude because, but like just show him moving the waves. Yeah.
I very much agree. So we'll move on to our next category, which is rewatchability. Could you rewatch this? Is it a one-and-done type of deal? If it's a game, does it have replay availability? If it's a theme park ride, would you ride it again? If it's a TV show, are you gonna throw the season on again? I gave this a 2. Listen, I love Percy Jackson. I just want to say that.
I'm starting to think you don't.
I do. I felt bad the entire time I was scoring this.
No.
And I think it's because I'm such a big fan of the books. I was so critical of the show because, again, like I forced my parents to watch shows with me, and me and my mom actually are the ones who watched Percy Jackson and talked about it, and she loved it. So, like, I sort of wonder if it was like we should have had her as a guest. If we had that lens of like, this is a person who's never read the books before. How it would, if it like feels better to them. But anyways, I gave this a score of 2. So this score was a little bit low for me because I feel like there was so much information given right out of the gate. They told us this is kind of a plot tie-in, but like they told us really easy the fleece was going to bring back Thalia. So like there's never any reason why I would go back and rewatch that to see if that's foreshadowed anywhere, because it's like really early on that they talk about that. And when it happens, it's not surprising. I think the change with Thalia and Zeus was really cool.
Yeah.
And so like that's why I didn't give it like a 0. I gave it a 2 because I would go back and like kind of rewatch how that was built up a little bit through Annabeth's memories, but like I feel like the memories again are sort of like in such a dreary place for Annabeth that it's always like they weren't really that fun to watch. But yeah, like I think if we didn't know the fleece was gonna heal the pine tree and turn Thalia back, that would have like hit so much harder, and it would have been like, okay, I gotta watch this again. Every plot point's just handed to you. It's like Polyphemus, he can mimic voices, and it's not really like, because you see in the book Tyson can mimic voices, and so when Polyphemus does it, you're like, oh crap, yeah, we saw Tyson do this earlier. It's obvious that he can. Right out of the gate. There just wasn't any foreshadowing. I'd rather just probably reread the books. Even the book for it. I feel like there were like the choices between like when they're choosing between the 2 monsters with like Clarice. It was kind of like obvious that what was gonna happen. It was just a little bit, I don't know, like you knew Clarice was gonna be stupid because that's who she is. And I like that whole scene. I feel like every scene with her and Percy was always like, Percy's so, we talked about this like the tiniest bit online, but the Percy's so emotionally intelligent in this season.
Yeah.
That like nobody has room to like breathe, or you don't have room to like figure out people's problems, which kind of goes into plot with me. So I'll let you add your thoughts to this first.
Yeah. I'm sure we'll get into that because
Mhm.
we both have thoughts there on Percy.
Yeah.
But I gave rewatchability a 3 because I do think the first few episodes, like the first half, struggles with the pacing a little bit.
Yeah.
And trying to set things up, it is a little bit more telly and less showy. But I really loved the second half of the season.
Mhm.
And because they're these 30-minute episodes, you can rewatch the whole season. It's like a movie and a half, you know?
Yeah.
So I would definitely rewatch it. I probably will before season 3 comes out later this year, which I love, and I'm giving major props to the production team for churning out the next season quickly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I liked it a little bit better than you did.
I think because I liked the Sea of Monsters book, it definitely was the weakest, but Odysseus and the Odyssey is like close to my heart.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the first really big Greek classic tales that I really delve into, and I was like in college, and it's just like we really read through it. And I remember reading this book, and I got into these way later, and I read the Odyssey, so I was like, oh yeah, this happens, and Odysseus does this, and he was always like my favorite because you had like Aeneas, Odysseus, and then I forget who else was like one of the great here, the one in Iliad. I think that's Achilles. That's crazy. I was like, I think it's Achilles. But Odysseus was always my favorite because he did use his wits.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that like the fact where I'm like, I wanted more of the Odyssey in this book made me kind of like be bummed out by this season because
you were comparing it to the Odyssey, and I was comparing it to the Sea of Monsters book.
Yeah. It's like, damn. But also there was just some of my I think a lot of my favorite scenes were taken out, which I was kind of bummed about. I will talk about it actually in the next section.
And plot.
But
gotcha.
Yeah, we can move on to plot.
That's definitely where we're gonna have the most to say. So
I think so. I rated this a 2.
Wow.
The plot bothered me in a lot of places. First off, Chiron's gone from camp, and why? He's the son of Kronos, but we're never really told that. Or they suspected he poisoned the tree in the books. Never explained that. He's just gone. I feel like a lot of the whimsy was gone from this book, like Tantalus. Like a lot of the fun was like the food getting up and like walking away or like leaving. It's just like a lot of that stuff was gone. I felt like
they didn't have the budget for that. They can't animate the food walking away. They can't
like,
even animate
just
Riptide.
Some kind of whimsy.
Yeah,
even just some kind of whimsy. Percy just kind of okay. Hold on, I'm getting my head of myself for that one.
Well, yeah.
Circe really bothered me. The whole Circe's Island thing, and they changed it, so I understand why they did it with Medusa. So they went back and they changed Medusa and they made her, because that Greek tale is it's not cut and dry. A lot of the Greek tales say that Medusa was raped by Poseidon. And so it made sense that they went back and they actually added that nuance. Circe doesn't deserve that nuance as a Greek character. She's a witch. She literally turned Odysseus' entire party into pigs. That was her whole thing, is that she hated men. Allow her to hate men. Why are we doing anything different than that? I didn't understand why she was keeping these people on an island. I didn't like how they put the fatal flaw stuff in there. I think that bothered me the most, because the books it was always really fun to figure out what everyone's fatal flaw was in the book, and to have it handed to you at the thing, and then being like, Annabeth's like, Annabeth had that line that really bothered me, where she was like, oh yeah, my fatal flaw is like pride. I was really proud of that. Why in the hell would they do that at Camp Half-Blood? Why would they have an assignment be your fatal flaw? Because that's just opening up to all sorts of vulnerability and weaknesses. You should not be telling everyone your fatal flaw. That is a personal experience. And I feel like it just got robbed. And just like Percy's fatal flaw being just like pulled out. That's one of the biggest points in the series, and it was just like thrown out. And it was just on Cersei's like, yeah, I know it. And like the fact that she finally turned him into a guinea pig, I was like waiting for it. And but the way that it was Percy, the way that Percy was the one to confront her and figure it out, and not Annabeth, bothered me. I didn't understand all like why she's keeping, again, I don't understand why she's keeping people in this sauna. That's not in her character at all in the Greek myth. I guess you're right. I'm comparing it to Odysseus. Yeah. I wish they just let her be bad. And like I feel like after that episode, I was just like hung up on that. And like the sirens, how they were like, oh, but it was special beeswax he put in his ears. I don't actually remember if that's what it was. I thought it was a cop out to having the original scene, which is I thought was like because I loved that in the original books that Annabeth, like Odysseus, chooses to hear the siren song because she wants to know her fatal flaw.
Yeah.
And that cut. All gone. It bothered me so bad. I wish that Annabeth had made that choice to better herself, because that showed a lot about Annabeth's character. Instead, she just learns about it randomly at Camp Half-Blood. The whole Cersei thing drove me insane. It made me so mad. Also, and then Percy just starts talking to horses, and that's never talked about.
Let's talk about Cersei first before we move on to Blackjack. That's very interesting. I really like your point about in the book Annabeth choosing to hear the song to learn her fatal flaw. That's a very good point. I really liked the changes to Cersei's Island. I'm a fan of the Madeline Miller books of Cersei and Achilles and her like retellings of the myths. So Cersei's already more sympathetic in my head, so I'm okay with that, and very, different from the original Odyssey. I really liked that they were like, yeah, we learned our fatal flaws at Camp Half-Blood, because I feel like that's something that I felt like that was something they would do and like want to prepare these kids to like understand that about themselves, or whatever. But what I really liked about it was that it showed us, like that whole scene, the change with the sirens, is that it showed us that Annabeth's fatal flaw isn't actually pride. Like, that's what she's told. That's what she believes. That's what Cersei believes. But when she sees the siren's vision, her fatal flaw is actually like wanting to be accepted, wanting to be understood, wanting to be loved, to be seen. And so I loved that change, and especially that part where she thinks she beats it, and then Athena comes in, and then it flips. Like, that was the perfect way to show that yes, Annabeth's pride in her intelligence is going to get her in trouble, but what she really wants and what is going to make her reach out and take the siren's hand is the love of her mother. I thought that was a really interesting, more like deeper characterization of Annabeth, where in the books, like, pride always worked for her, but this feels like a more deeper, introspective, comprehensive view of Annabeth and everything we know about her through the rest of the series and even Heroes of Olympus. That felt more true to what her fatal flaw actually is to me.
I didn't finish Heroes of Olympus, so maybe that's why, but like I mean, I guess I liked in the book is like how Percy got to see it too. Also, I felt like we got a little bit robbed with that. But yeah, I worry that's I hope the show knows what it's doing. I have a little bit of doubt. Because I was like, fair. If she lied about it to Cersei, that would have made much more sense. I've been like, oh, okay. Because Annabeth's not stupid to tell Cersei her fatal flaw. Like, yeah.
Because you think these monsters and stuff will use your fatal flaw against you. So you wouldn't want to share that with anybody. Yeah. That's fair.
Yeah. And, but yeah, and I just hated the confrontation when Percy's like, you're keeping them here forever. And I was like, why, how did the fuck did you figure this out, Percy? You're stupid.
It is a little like unexplained in the show where she's just like, this is what she does. And I mean, yeah, I mean, that's kind of, I don't know.
I think it would have been good. I feel like it was just like a lot of like, I'm disappointed they changed it, and I think they could have gone like if they had like toxic positivity. I feel like that would have been an interesting approach. Like,
yeah,
because Circe's all about control, like, but I don't know if she would be into like collecting heroes. I don't really get that. I think that was like hang me up. But like, yeah, the sirens. I didn't like Percy's like. I feel like I'm gonna catch a lot of flack because I think a lot of Percy Beth people like this moment. But when he was like, "I didn't see a fatal flaw, I just saw you," and I was like, oh, "That's a little bit too."
They're really fast tracking Percabeth. They're leaning into it hard, and I agree. Mm-hmm. Like that part, where he's like, "I just saw you." I'm like, "Oh, shut up! You're 12."
Yeah.
But and then also when they're 13? In the tunnel, they're in the tunnel, and she's like. I don't even remember what Annabeth says before. And then Percy's like, I knew you were special after 2 days. I'm like, literally, I'm going to slap you. Like, stop. It's so much. It's a lot. And I'm trying to like reframe it in my mind, knowing, I wonder if it's just because like Walker and Leah are clearly not 13 that they feel that they have to like speed things up a little bit. I don't know. Or if they're just trying to appeal to the Percabeth crazy people. We both love Percabeth, but, you know, like, it does feel like a lot to me, too.
Yeah. But, yeah, so I didn't like Circe. But I can understand why you did. Now I'm like, all right, maybe I was too harsh.
You'll have to rewatch it with your rewatchability score.
It. I know. But I still don't agree with the fatal flaw thing. It's
That's fine.
Driving me crazy.
That's fine. Agree to disagree.
What's disclaimer number 2 or something? Okay, yeah. But yeah, anyways, I feel like, again, Percy, I bring up the horse.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of stuff that was on his side in the story-wise wasn't handled well. Yeah, he started talking to Blackjack out of nowhere, and I was like, what is... And I actually really liked Blackjack. This is such a random thing. But I really like Blackjack being added to the season, because he comes out of nowhere in the 3rd book.
Yeah.
He just, like, a horse shows up at Percy's door and starts talking to him, and he's like, Blackjack. And you're like, Blackjack? Who is this? I actually thought... I remember going back to the 2nd book, because I thought I had missed something. I was like, clearly...
I think Blackjack shows up in the 1st book briefly because he was Luke's horse,
right?
Oh,
okay.
He was Luke's horse. Like, that was true in the books as well as the show, I think. I don't remember.
We talked about, like, how Percy's powers don't really come into play a lot. As much as they do in the books, which is hard because water's
budget for it. Disney won't give him the money to do some water powers.
But, like, even when he's, like, looking into the mirror and he's having a freak out, all he's doing is making, like, the guinea pig water swirl. And I was like, okay, that's what...
Yeah.
It doesn't even explode, it just stops. I was like, at least it's gonna, like, psh, but no. I didn't even do that.
Too expensive.
Expensive. And I think it's, like, the horse thing also bothers me, because he interacts with horses, like, 3 times before this. Where he has, like, the chariots. He has the zoo. Do they have the zoo scene in the...
That's in the 1st one with the zebra in the back of the truck. Yeah.
Do they have the animals scene in the 1st season though, I think. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And nothing happens there. And so it's kind of like...
That's true.
Yeah. Like he interacted with horses before. And so that just bothered me. Yeah, we talked about Percy. He's very emotionally intelligent in this season. He always knows the right thing to say, which is not Percy esque.
Yeah.
In the books, he's a little bit more, he's trying to figure things out. He's just doing the best he can.
Right.
And it kind of like, it makes sense with the Great Prophecy, because I think a lot of people are like, this is the kid. But like here he's like smart. He knows what to predict. He knows what to say. Says stuff to Clarissa and the, like, when they're like talking on the ship or something. I forget what he says to her, but It was like the thing she needed to hear, and I was like,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah, no, he's softer with everybody. Like he's like so romantic to Annabeth, but he doesn't realize it because he's dumb. So you're just like watching him say these things, and Annabeth's like, why would you say that to me? Like little avoidant attachment Annabeth is like, but I've been kind of thinking about it that way too, is that like Percy is saying these things, not realizing that what kind of impact the things he says has on people. And that's like the things that he's saying are going to push Annabeth to want to join the Hunters in the third book, because like she wants to get away from Percy, because she's like, she can cause problems. Like Percy's going to burn down Olympus for her, right? So I kind of get maybe that they were trying to set that up. But he's also softer with Clarice, like you said, that he's like, he does say something that I wanted to bring up too, but and even with Tyson, like in the books, he's more annoyed with Tyson and like less patient. I do like that they changed Tyson, so he's less of this like problematic, like disabled younger brother kind of stereotype. But he's so like patient with everybody, and I'm like, I don't know, I go back and forth because it does feel different from the Percy from the books, but I also, again, am trying to reframe it in my mind, like, this version of Percy is a good role model for like boys these days, and boys really need an example of somebody that is emotionally intelligent, that is kind, that is willing to fight for the people that he loves, and is like there for his friends. So I don't know if that's what they're intending, if that was like why they've done this with Percy, or if they're just falling victim to like, we don't want our characters to do anything that's going to make them unlikable or have our audience be mad about it. I really don't know, but I keep going back and forth, where sometimes I'm like, it's too much, and then I'm trying to put it in a different perspective.
Well, just sort of, because I mean, in Percy Jackson, it's a first person point of view, so we're really seeing it through his eyes and how he thinks himself, which is lower. And then when you sort of get to the Heroes of Olympus series, because I've read up to, I think, House of Hades, and you start to get out of his point of view and to others, you start to see actually how he comes off to people, which is like a leader, which I don't think Percy would ever describe himself as,
right?
Or like scary and powerful. Like these are all things that like the other characters are like, oh, like they really look up to him for, but like, he doesn't see himself in that way. Like and I think there's like the last book or something, when Annabeth gets hurt and everyone's like, oh, you shouldn't have done that.
Don't
like,
touch her. Nobody touch her. That's what he said. Nobody touches her.
But it was I did appreciate the ending. I felt like it went on for a little bit too long. But going back to Camp Half-Blood, I like seeing the revolt though. Seeing more of Luke, I like that. I really liked the Thalia Zeus. Maybe I'll be nicer to and up its score to a third, but out of 3, I really liked the Thalia and Zeus. How the Zeus was the one who struck down Thalia, because it sets up why Percy's so worried about her.
Yes,
I think her dressed as Kronos was a little over the top when he has those like visions.
Sure, yeah.
But I'm like, oh yeah, that would make sense of why he's nervous, because now like she has reason to hate Zeus.
Yes.
And just like, and she might actually side because she was so close with Luke, because I think Luke has that really great line where he's like, you knew her for 2 weeks, I knew her for like 2 years or whatever. And I was like, damn. Damn, Luke.
Yes. I love everything they're setting up with Thalia. Like, I love how they're going to highlight the antagonistic relationship between her and Percy. Because as we've been saying a bunch. Percy is really soft with everybody. So this is what the show needs, because he's going to be a little butthead to Thalia, and they are going to drive each other crazy. She's already being so like defensive of Annabeth, and that's going to cause them to butt heads. And yeah, I just love how this change gives her more like agency and control in her own story, because they're setting up like everything points to her wanting to side with Luke. She should.
Yeah.
So when she chooses not to, it's going to feel so much better than it did in the book, because of what Zeus did to her.
Which I mean, like, I don't. Do you have a favorite Percy Jackson book?
It was Titan's Curse. Yeah, I'm really excited.
That's mine too. Yeah.
I love the hunters. Like, that's my favorite.
So either I'll like season 3 better, or I'll hate it more.
I know.
It's gonna be no.
we have high expectations for the next season for sure.
Because Titan's Curse, and that was one of my favorite parts, was because that was actually, to me, that was the first book that really started exploring the romantic connection between Percy and Annabeth.
Yep.
And maybe that's why they lean so hard into it this season, because she's, spoiler alert, not gonna be a lot in the season 3.
Yeah. They want to
like
set up the angst early.
Yeah, maybe they wanted to make things. But it just, I guess, I mean, I still feel pretty if I give it a 3, I still feel pretty justified that it's slower, because I feel like even if you look at it from like that lens, then a lot of the season wasn't dedicated to telling its own story. It was dedicated to setting up the rest of the seasons.
Yeah.
Where the first season felt like its own arc. The season was it felt like it was setting up for the next seasons, because they're like gonna get renewed for 3 and 4.
No, that's a totally good point. I think you're absolutely right, that because like Rick himself wanted to kind of rewrite the story with this, I think you're right that now that he has the context of the rest of the story, he's using it to set up a lot of things.
Yeah. And it just didn't, I felt like it didn't pay homage to the book as well as it, I mean, again, everyone says it's the weakest book. I love Odysseus. I wish it paid a little bit more homage. Why couldn't we have had the Canadian cannibals?
Put Alanna in the writer's room.
Put me in the writer's room. I would have fought for those cannibals.
Yeah.
I actually did really like Tyson and Percy knowing Tyson and his mom and him helping him, because I thought about it and I was like, yeah, that was really weird that his mom didn't do anything about Tyson.
Well, what I really like about that too, I'm so glad you said this, because this was the next thing I wanted to talk about too, was Sally. I also love the changes they're making to Sally, just in general, except for Annabeth for some reason. They are making all of the female characters like so much better. They're giving Clarice more agency in her story, more complexity. Everything they're setting up for Thalia is awesome. I love how Sally's more involved in this. She seems like the cool mom that, like, I believe Poseidon fell in love with her in this version of Sally, you know? And I think it's also, like you said, setting up story for later, that she's this, like, what do they call it? Clear-sighted or something? Human?
Yeah.
That they can see through the mist better. And so when we get to the story with Rachel and May, like, I think now having Sally be more involved in how she sees the world, I think that's going to make those stories hit harder later too.
Yeah, and it is, I mean, you remind me of something with Annabeth, which is like another one of the problems I had this season, was her and Percy's conversation at the boat. When he was like, so what's wrong? And she was like, I hated it in the outside world. I couldn't ride Space Mountain, which, nice Disney. But like,
yeah.
And Percy's like, well, we can't be friends then. And I was like, didn't we already go through this in the first season? Like, I don't know. And it was like never really brought up again.
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought
maybe
it'll
like come into play in the 3rd season though, like, because her dad is involved in that. So maybe her human life will play more of a role.
And we'll get to see Annabeth on Space Mountain talking about how much she loves Walt Disney. and Mickey Mouse.
Mm-hmm. If they build Camp Half-Blood in Disneyland or something, they can have all my money. I would go so fast.
Epic Universe. Put one of those portals in. Camp Half-Blood portal.
That takes us to Disneyland. It just is an actual portal.
Oh shit, you're right.
Yeah.
For a minute I was like, for some reason I thought Universal had the rights for a moment.
That'd
Universal
nice.
would have done. Universal would have killed it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, with the budget, like we've said, and the 30-minute episodes, and I do think it struggles a little bit with immaturity sometimes. Like the character, like Percy is too emotionally mature, but there's like a weird tonal, like it just flip-flops where sometimes it feels really silly, and then we'll get like 19-year-old Luke punching Percy in the face repeatedly, and I'm just like there's a little bit of whiplash sometimes. And I want them to figure out, like, pick a lane.
Yeah, because I feel like a lot of the hand-holding, a lot of over-explaining is because they're like, well, kids are watching this, and then a girl gets stabbed, and you're like, okay.
Yeah. It's like they're fighting on whether they want it to be more mature because the audience has grown up, or if they still want it to be... I'm sure it's Disney that's like... Yeah, whatever.
We should do an episode on Gravity Falls, because there's a lot of, like, how Disney interfered with that, and, like, or tried to. It's really fascinating. But, yeah, any final thoughts? I will say I have a final thought that was like, oh, we had to add up our scores, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Should we do final thoughts first? Because this kind of adds to it. So I wonder, too, if this got ranked a little bit lower for me than normal, because it came out the same day as Fallout episodes did. So I would watch this, and then I would watch Fallout. And that was not kind to Percy to have those back-to-back, because Fallout was such an intelligently written show and well-paced this season. And so I think it was like... where I'd be like, oh. And it became a little bit of a chore to like kind of watch Percy first and then Fallout. But yeah, maybe. But I also think this season was just, as you said, weakest season, weakest book. Yeah. So I'm hoping that next season will be better. But we can tally up our scores now.
Yeah, I haven't watched Fallout Season 2 yet, so I don't have that to compare to. I'm looking through my notes to see if I have final thoughts before we tally things up. One thing that better come back in Season 3 is they set up this story for Clarice, which I really liked, where she promises the soldiers Elysium to fight for her, and it gives her this like really interesting internal conflict. And then they never talk about it ever again.
Nope.
So we need a scene eventually for her to talk to Ares and petition for these soldiers that helped her. We need to close that arc. Disney, listen to me.
I agree. I really like that scene. I thought it gave Clarice like a extra push that it didn't have before. But
two more final thoughts before we go.
Do it.
I think that's all I've got. I love that they're doing little Easter eggs at the expanded universe. Like they had Clarice talking to that kid and said like, cut the charm speak, Aphrodite boy or whatever.
Yes.
I love that.
Yes.
I love when they're playing Myth of Magic. All that like expanded universe stuff was really fun to see this season.
Hopefully we get Knots, because I know he has the Egyptian book, and I know that Percy has actually crossed over with those characters.
Yes. I only read the first Kane Chronicles book.
Yeah.
I didn't like them as much. They're younger, too, like the two kids. Sadie and Connor or something. They were like 11, and I was just too old by then. And not as into Egyptian mythology as I ever was to Greek, so...
just didn't love it all of it.
And then my last thing that we also need to see in season 3, where is Selena? I want Selena and Beckendorf. They both are mentioned in the second book, but don't show up. in the second season. So I need Selena. I saw an interview with Dior, who plays Clarice, saying something about it makes sense for a girl from the Aries cabin to see a boy from the Hermes cabin, meaning Chris, and a girl from the Aphrodite cabin, meaning Selena, and to be confused by that. And so I was like, if we are going to get lesbian Clarice and Selena, I'm going to be so happy. So please bring her in season 3. That's all.
Excited.
Yeah. Okay, now we can move on to our scores.
Mine came out to 16. This is the part of the show where writers do math. Our favorite part, most popular part of the show. You guys are like, do more math.
So your total was 16?
Yeah.
Mine was 21.
21.
So mine fits into classic category, I believe.
18.5. Oh my gosh. Let me go to my test because I totally have this. Solid. Just below classic, which I would agree with. Yeah. Honestly.
I think that's fair.
So solid. Go watch it. I know I actually really do like Percy Jackson. I think it's a fun time. I'm excited every time a season comes out. This one just didn't hit for me, but I think that people should still watch it. I think people will have fun with it. And the first one definitely, and be ready for season 3 because I'm super excited about that.
Yeah, me too. And if you agree more with me that you liked it a little bit more, I want to know specifically what people feel about the Cersei and the fatal flaw thing, because that's where we had the biggest difference of opinion. So I just want to hear the get the temperature on that from everybody else.
That's true. I see, like, I always go on TikTok after every episode to like hear people's thoughts. So yeah, please chime in and talk about what you agree or disagree, because I think overall this season was pretty. I think I'm in the minority.
I've seen lots of TikToks that it seems very divided. I've seen a lot of people that absolutely hate it and think this adaptation is like worse than the movies, which is crazy in my opinion.
No, I don't agree with that in the least.
People are just mad. And then I've seen a lot of people that really like the changes that they're making and are going into episodes rather than having this attitude of being like, oh, let's see what they changed this time. They're excited to be like, I can't wait to see what they changed and how this story is different. And that's kind of where I'm at right now. Yeah.
Well, that wraps it up for this episode. Like, subscribe, and comment. Again, we'd love to see your thoughts, hear your thoughts on the story, whether you loved or hate it. Let us know if you like this episode, if you want us to do more Percy Jackson, more books, and more TV series.
Project Hail Mary, the next book. And movie. We could do an episode on that.
Yeah. Okay. So if you're Percy Jackson crazy like we are. Yeah. Thanks, and see you again soon.
Bye.